Welcome to the TruckSafe Driver Health and Wellbeing T&C session. One of the points of difference for TruckSafe is that it considers the human elements of trucking and not just the technical and mechanical safety aspects of the industry. Today I have three panel members here with me. Between the three of them, they represent over 50 years of TruckSafe membership, and all three are current directors on the TruckSafe board. So I'd like to welcome Ferdie Kroon, the TruckSafe chair from Divall Transport in Tasmania, Andy Divall from Divall's in Goulburn, Paul Fellows from Fellows Transport in Deniliquin.
Good morning.
Thanks all for joining me today. I'm going to ask you all a few questions and look forward to having a discussion. So my first question, Paul, I'd like to ask you. You and I have had conversations before about the importance of, driver health and also their fitness for duty and the safety outcomes from this. What can you tell us about the most important aspects of Fellows Driver Health policy and what benefits that you've seen for both your operation and the individuals who work for you?
Well, thank you, Melissa. First of all, it's all about fitness for duty, but it's a larger issue than that. We've seen men, particularly from their 40s onwards, in the community dying of preventable illness, and it's the old story. Men are always too busy to get a medical done. Some regard going to the doctor as a sign of weakness. And the beauty of the TruckSafe Medical is that we're getting drivers going in to have a checkup. Now, this might not be a full aircraft medical with bloods and whatnot, but I've had some examples. Just recently, one of my drivers here in Deniliquin, and I had to pester him, harass him to get his medical done. I only sooks get medicals. He goes in for the medical. The doctor gives him a once over. Found a melanoma on his ear. 3 days later, half his ear was removed. This TruckSafe medical, it's probably saved his life, because this guy never goes to the doctor. I've got another example. One of our drivers in Queensland a few years ago, a new driver, goes in for a TruckSafe medical. He was on the verge of renal failure and was admitted to hospital that afternoon. Now, goodness knows what had happened if he hadn't had that medical. It may have been catastrophic for him. Third example, driver getting headaches. From time to time, goes in for his TruckSafe medical, check his blood pressure, sky high blood pressure, and the doctor actually took him off the road and got him onto medication and stabilised his blood pressure, and he's back on the road again. TruckSafe medical, it could have saved a catastrophic event, it could have saved his life. Recently, I did my RMS medical, my Austroads medical for my B double and road train licence. An absolute disgrace. The question is completely subjective. Do I have a problem with drugs? No. Do you have a problem with alcohol? No. Do you have epilepsy? No. Do you fall asleep in front of the television? No. Do you have mental health issues? No. All right, Paulie, you passed the test. You're free to go and drive a B double. Absolute disgrace. Finally, our most important asset is our staff, and it's great to see that TruckSafe Medical is recognising this and really doing their bit towards men's health and preventable illness.
That's great, thanks, Paul. And yeah, that issue of subjective medical tests is a big issue, and more objective testing will mean that any underlying medical conditions are uncovered. And we know that there would be some drivers that would be very nervous about self-reporting some of their symptoms because they may be worried about job security, they may be worried about the amount of shifts they might be offered. So there is a review being conducted into the Austroads medical standards and fitness to drive standards, and the ATA will be heavily involved in putting across what needs to change in that area.
Good.
Ferdie, I'm going to throw a question your way now. So, as an experienced safety and risk manager, what do you see as the real value of implementing the TruckSafe fitness to drive policy and procedures, and how is it equated to lowering risk at De Bruins?
Thanks, Melissa. From a De Bruin transport perspective, and might I add a Bass Strait transport perspective now as well, what we find with our fitness for duty elements is, I'm going to build on where Paul's coming from here, that regular checkup that we should all be having is the first of those, if you like, risk reduction methods or risk reduction control measures that we utilise. And let's face it, as we get older, because that's something that is happening, unfortunately, we're going to need that regular checkup, and we're going to need that more often. And the beauty is, as an employer, we pay for that. It's helping those ageing drivers and yard operators and those sort of people really get used to what a regular annual or 3 yearly medical is all about. But the interesting point for us that I want to just amplify a bit more is that we've actually built specific fitness for duty checks into our medical process, which builds onto the Austroads fitness to drive. And the reason why we've done that is, let's face it, drivers don't just drive vehicles, okay? They restrain loads. They throw straps, they throw chains, they unload, they operate forklifts, they climb up and down off trucks, and dare I say it, occasionally off trailers, depending upon the nature of the load. They do a whole heap more stuff than just simply steering the vehicle. So the fitness for duty elements that we've built give us a little bit more of that risk control that's required to understand what is happening with our individuals, but also then make better employment choices up front. So for us, you know, and we don't mean to target people and say you can't come and work for us, but it's more about, well, if you've got these issues, can that work within this job, or do we need to look for something else for you? So we can start to move people around to better take advantage of what their particular medical circumstances are. The related point to that is that we actually do a lot of this, if you like, the scanning side or the surveillance side, the medical surveillance side. So we'll spend time reviewing full elements of the medicals, and we can have those mature discussions with the individuals. You know, did you know that your lung performance issue is starting to drop away? Might be something that you need to have a look at. Or did you know that you're below average strength in your shoulders at the moment? You know, if you're going to start throwing change and you're below average strength, you are going to have a problem, or potentially increased likelihood of a problem there. So what we're going to do is, what can we, you know, do we have you still throwing chains and straps, or do we look at alternatives? Do we start looking at using ropes to pull the chains or pull the straps over in an underarm type throw rather than an overarm type throw? You know, what can we do, or do we have to look at a different task? Is it time for you to, instead of doing heavy general freight in this area, maybe we've got to do more container work for you, and how can we do that? So it helps us make those decisions about what we can do with our people as well. So we're having those mature discussions, and it started 10 years ago, if you like, at a De Bruin level, and 1 year ago at a Bass Strait level, where we started with the base level medicals, and then we can just build from there. So the mature discussions are very, very important, and they help people understand that. I go back to that aging process, and it's a bugger because, you know, you make those decisions and you think you're bulletproof and that sort of stuff, but the medicals show, hang on, maybe there's a little bit of control measures that we've got to build in. I mentioned earlier as well that it's not just our drivers doing this, it's our yard operators. So anybody who's on the tools and our workshop people are doing medicals. They're doing the fitness to drive and fitness for duty stuff. really good, important point, because from a community perspective, looking inwards into TruckSafe and what it's all about, might think it's just about the driver driving the heavy vehicle. No, it's about those people who work for Divall, Bass Strait, and any other TruckSafe member in the country that are going through medicals, and they're then translating that into their road user behaviour. So there's a little bit of that old risk control, if you like, applying to all road users and all road user behaviour. So the community can have some, I suppose, some confidence that TruckSafe members like Divall, like, you know, whoever it might be, have those elements in place to look after road users and to reduce the risk of something going wrong. Our fitness for duty stuff also, our approach also underpins our fatigue management efforts. That's a really important point. So it's not just about have the medical, but let's talk about the mature discussions, and let's talk about those fatigue indicators that we have to look at to figure out ways around it. Now, the beauty in Tassie, as you well know, you drive for 3 hours and your tyres get wet, but there still is some sort of fatigue stuff that we need to look at, and how we look at brakes and how we look at the structure surrounding our basic fatigue management. And for our Melbourne operations, the drives up to New South Wales, South Australia and the like. The final point I want to point out is, and I'm going to give another example. Paul gave some really, really good ones, but earlier on in the innings, we had an individual that here at Divall that was very nonplussed about the medical stuff. Went for his first medical, blood pressure going through the roof. They redid the blood pressure again going through the roof, admitted him to hospital, and then he had some medical issues and he had a medical response. Without the TruckSafe medical starting that process, that gentleman would not be here today. So I think it's a really important point that, you know, I've talked about the mature discussions post-medical, but right up front, that medical does flag stuff that, you know, individuals might ignore because they don't know it's there. They don't know it's there. So it is risk reduction, mature discussions. I think it does a whole heap for a business in TruckSafe that can really take advantage of this and make it work at a pre-employment, post-employment, moving people around and looking after the workforce. They are the most important people.
Yeah, that's right. I think those personal stories from both you and Paul really kind of drive the importance of this home. And, you know, the quality of a business is all about its people. And, you know, there's more to life than work. But workplaces are a real cornerstone of society, and they're a place that connect people to all sorts of opportunities. And I think that TruckSafe Medical has obviously, you know, really paid off for a number of people, and I've heard a number of similar stories from other TruckSafe operators. So thanks for that. And Andy, again, we've had some conversations in the past about drug and alcohol management, and this can be a really challenging subject at times, and can also lead to, you know, legal and insurance consequences for operators. TruckSafe requires that operators have a drug and alcohol policy. What type of screening do you use at Divall, and how do you see that drug and alcohol policies can be improved in the future for industry?
Yeah. Firstly, just like Ferdie and Paul, we've found lots of underlying health issues with our drivers, and that's come out from the medicals. But just as much importantly is the drug and alcohol component of the TruckSafe medical, and it's a good chance to screen out some undesirable drivers before they could get on the road. We certainly don't want them on the road. At Divall, we've taken that one step further. Our drug and alcohol test is a chain of custody test. So it's a supervised test, so it can't be, you know, samples can't be switched. And quite often drivers don't even get to the medical. They pull out before that if they know that's what's on. And so we cull them out early in the piece. But I think it's important. The thing that worries me is they go to a non-TruckSafe member and they might get a start in a truck, and they've got drug and alcohol problems. So, you know, I'd like to see it be right across the industry, screening, drug and alcohol screening.
Ferdie, have you seen sort of similar, do Bruins take a different approach, or?
Pretty much spot on to Andy. So at a pre-employment level, we do a urine-based testing. It is urine-based testing. Once you're in the system, it is saliva-based. And for the simple reason is that and again, there's a little bit of science here, but we don't necessarily want to get involved with what people are doing on the weekends. It's something that, providing they turn up 0 tolerance across the board and ready to start Monday or whenever their shift commences, it's not up to me to judge their personal lives and what they do on the weekends. And I think saliva-based testing works a little better in that space, whereas the urine-based testing, sometimes the residual can remain in the system for a lot longer. Again, there's a bit of science involved, typical, you know, depending on the drug or alcohol or whatever it is, there's a bit of science, and I don't want to get involved in that because just between you and I, you know, does me in. But for us, that saliva base is less evasive, but it confirms categorically that the individual is fit for duty when they've rocked up on shift. I've only just recently had a non-negative test come through in one of our operations, where the individual came in at, I think it was about 0.02, so still not 0 tolerance, so still send home, monitor, bring back and have a frank discussion. But for us, that works a lot better than understanding, if you like, going into that urine-based approach, which might have been more evasive. So.
Well, it's interesting, Ferdie, because, you know, you can think, well, Sunday night having a few, and then you'll think, well, crikey, I've got my saliva test tomorrow, I might just back off a bit. So yeah, there's an incentive there to make sure you don't sort of jump the traces. Yeah, that's good.
It is, and each business to their own. I think the critical thing where Andy's coming from, and he's absolutely spot on here, you need a strong drug and alcohol management policy and procedure behind that. And everybody needs to know that. And everybody needs to know what the consequences are, also what the positives are. So we talk about the positives to road users. You know, that positive is not just about a heavy vehicle steering issue. It's about, you know, the individual coming to work, driving to work that day. They're fit, they're ready to go, they're driving to work that day. So that's what a good drug and alcohol management policy does. I think what I'd like to say as well is that you need to regularly review your drug and alcohol management policy. You need to understand that there's, you know, dare I say, new and bad stuff coming on the market on a regular basis. And that might be the synthetic drug area, for example. Isn't that going nuts? So your drug and alcohol management policy needs to be updated to reflect how you're going to respond to the use of synthetic drugs. It's a bit of a pain because at the end of the day, 99.99% of our workforce does the right thing, but we're focusing on a drug and alcohol management policy that's targeting, if you like, the wrong thing. But we spend a lot of time and effort doing that. That's unfortunate, but it is still going to be if you like, a positive outcome for road users.
Certainly in our business, that's no second chances. A failed drug test, gone.
And Andy, how do you find that, you know, obviously when everybody knows that you have a 0 tolerance, you know, policy within the business, you know, do you find that there is a general awareness of that amongst the team, and does that sort of, you know, is that well accepted by the team, and is there a broader conversation around that within Divals?
Yeah, it certainly is, and it's we get a better quality driver by doing that. It's we've got a great workforce.
Yeah, great.
I think again, Andy raised a very good point. It's about the quality that comes in the door, and sometimes yeah, we might get it wrong as recruiters and as HR people and, you know, managers, whatever. And then you need a system to obviously performance manage. But the less effort you spend post-recruitment, if you like, I'm not talking about normal HR stuff. I'm talking about when you've got a problem that's come in the door. The less effort there is better. You know, you really want to get it right up front. So drug and alcohol, fitness for duty, all those elements can help to get a better driver or yard operator or employee more broadly.
When we find people that have got other ailments from the doctor, you know, we'll find them other duties in our business. We might downsize their truck. They might have been driving a B-double. They might go back to a rigid or lesser hours and things like that. So we shouldn't scare people off that the medical's going to put you off the road.
And I think that's really important. That's more a work design response, which is, you know, it does create that culture of people being able to approach the organisation to say, either I'm not physically well or I'm not mentally 100%, and you can look at that work design and adjust for the individual, which is a really important process for them.
Yeah, I mean, we're here in our Launceston depot, where I'm working from today. We've got a couple of drivers who are over the age of 65. In fact, more than a couple. I think there's about 5 at the moment, and yard operators. And their tasks are well and truly monitored to make sure that we're not overextending them or giving them stuff which could break them. Because at the end of the day, they've worked hard. You know, they've had 50... You know, I mean, they still love working for us, 40, 50 years in the workforce. They're entitled to have a retirement free from injury. And that, to me, is a really, really important point, stressing that good approach to fitness for duty. When people retire, we want to make sure that they retire free from injury so that they can enjoy their retirement.
That's great. Well, thanks everybody for joining in. And has anyone got any final comments that they want to make?
Just Paul, you might on your shirt next time, mate.
I didn't know. I saw you guys wearing the TruckSafe shirt, and I've got the Bruins on. See.
Well, thanks everybody. I think this is.
Oh, there it is. The cap's come out. Oh, Andy and Paul.
Touche, my friend. I trapped your spade, Andy Divall.
He's trapped you, Andy.
This is the other one. I trap your spade, that Ferdie Kroon.
Now, what have I got behind me? This company.
Oh, that's great, guys. Thank you.
That's just a fantastic example of the stirring that goes on at the TruckSafe board.
Great conversation.
Thanks, Melissa. All the best, gentlemen. All the best, Mel.
Thanks, Mel. See you, Andy.
Bye.